Check. All right, it's time for our second event here on stage. We will have a panel discussion on this tech leader stage with Silke Eggert from Vodafone and Alexander Birke from Accenture. And we will hear about the impact of GenAI platforms and their economic advantages, as well as the impact on teams. So, welcome on stage with GenAI after the hype, transforming organizations with GenAI-based agents. Alex and Silke.
Thank you very much. It's amazing to be here together with Alex. So we've already been introduced, very obviously am I Silke. And I have the fun to be here together with Alex on stage.
Thank you, Silke. So let's directly come to our topic, yes, beyond the hype. So we will tell you a few stories about things we deal with, and we're both out of the agile transformation area. So we do a lot of transformations of change management, and now we are thinking about the next level of how people work, ways of working and how they transform. And also here, it's a lot about people. So you hear about experiences with the people, and of course experiences that we suggest or recommend you to follow up in order to realize the benefit of the AI hype. So let me start with this big number, 10.3 trillion US dollar, and that's the additional value to be unlocked if we get it right with AI or with GenAI. So I will tell you a little bit later about this number, but basically this is a GDP forecast with the current ideas of what can be achieved with AI, and that's by 2038. And I think most of the companies want to be part of that, right? So a little bit later on the number, because that's critical, because it's not so easy to get to the 10.3 if we don't do it right. So before we start to our examples, let me give you a little bit an overview. So of course, to make it right, also in a transformation or in a change management approach that we are used to in business transformation, agile transformations, you need to care about some facts. And it's again a holistic view. Of course, in the end, it's to be value-driven, right? It's not just to play around. And to be honest, at the moment in the AI space, we're doing a lot of playing around with stuff. And what we do, and this is what Silke will in a minute talk about, we will check on processes. So what's the processes that we can change with AI, enhance with AI, and Silke will talk about also augmenting, right? So it's a process optimization-driven approach. It's data-founded. Everyone knows without data, your heuristics, it's nothing. There's also a story around that, how we experience the thing with the data. And you see already on the screen what we used is, we heavily used in the case study, we're showing the Atlassian tools. So also the data is taken out of Jira and Confluence in these cases. So we had our data, but basically for the future, and that's something Forbes predicts, it's going to be a big data market because who owns the data can also kind of process them with the AI stuff. We talk a little bit about the organizational constraints. Again, it's only a proof of concepts we have. And finally, what is at our heart, we want to bring you a little bit nearer to the people level. So let's talk about the proof of concept, Silke, and what we learned with that.
Yes, thank you so much, Alex. So actually, 5 weeks ago, we had a discussion and had a crazy idea. So at the time, we had just ended a very successful enterprise agility roundtable in Düsseldorf at our headquarters of Vodafone. 60 people from 25 plus companies. We partnered with Atlassian and Accenture and demoed a lot of the just recently launched GenAI capabilities, which improve the current modern ways of working of teams across the entire software development lifecycle. And then Alex and Benji from Atlassian approached me and said, what do you think about doing a pilot? And actually, we would like to present the results of this pilot here at the WeAreDevelopers Congress in Berlin. So, courageous as we tend to be, we said yes. And I must say, we really had a very short time frame, 5 weeks specifically, and we took up the challenge, and I'm really super proud of the team. We identified who was up for that experiment and who had the courage to play with new capabilities which haven't even been shipped on the market yet. So the way we approached it is we very quickly looked at, okay, what are potential use cases? How do we actually deliver some benefits to team? We didn't want to create something in a sandbox only, but really have a viable business proposition. So in effect, we identified 3 use cases. 3 were fine because I'm already taking away that we had to pivot one because we didn't have enough data, but we were happy to proceed with 2. Then, of course, given that we are also operating in a security, data privacy environment, we are very proud that we already apply with the GenAI rules and regulations of the EU, which have just recently been launched. We also had to ensure that we had security approval. So we actually got approval to stand up a dedicated cloud-based instance of Jira. We also had approval that we could proceed with data which didn't include customer-sensitive information, but was coming from true backlogs. And so this was done actually at the speed of light. And then immediately did we go into onboarding 10 participants of those pilots. They were given access, they were briefed, they were invited to call. And talking about people, which Alex already alluded to, we really ensured that our people, a part of those 2 experiments, had access on a daily basis to the experts. They had drop-in calls, they could raise their questions, and this really worked well. They came, they dialed in, they had a very short question, and then they went away and they continued with the experiment. And only a week ago did we actually draw the conclusion. We were super intrigued to understand what did the teams actually learn, and this is what we would like to share with you right now. So, just to sum up, the success criteria really consisted of a very tight collaboration between all partners, Vodafone, Accenture, and Atlassian. Everyone was really working hard to not have any delays, to set up and spin up the environment. Then I really must say the people were amazing. Yes, they were absolutely embracing this opportunity to do something new. We also didn't hide that they would be given first access to a product from Atlassian which hasn't even been shipped yet. So they felt that we are really privileged that we are the first ones to experiment. And then, as I said, it was also important to create some minimal guardrails because very easy to boil the ocean. So this is how we went ahead. And I actually have got 2 examples from the use cases. I am just not sure how I can run the little video, because we decided to start at the beginning of the software development process. Why? Because we know from our insights that currently a lot of time is wasted in product owners, product managers, not necessarily providing the right level of detailed requirements with very clearly defined acceptance criteria to the development teams. Yeah, and then often the development teams are being beaten up that they haven't developed what the business representative had in mind. So we actually said, let's focus on this particular part of the process chain, because this will help us streamline the process. So in one use case, we are actually at the moment spinning up a portfolio, which means we are transforming a lot of currently project names to very detailed portfolio epics. And we also want to make sure that those epics align to an epic hypothesis statement, so that they are written in a very standardized way and that they also include the business value. And I'm open to share the teams are struggling with that. Yeah, so they're really finding it hard to be very specific and to follow a certain framework. So I'm just going to share with you. Now the video is running, but let me just explain what Rovo did in this particular case. So we actually prompted Rovo to create a business epic, a portfolio epic. And this is what Rovo, within seconds. As you can see, it is aligned with the structure of a business, of an epic hypothesis statement. And then we actually said, please, Rovo, can you also include the value of this portfolio epic? And within seconds, again, a list of value statements was generated. And then, as you can see, Rovo also prompted the user, because not everyone is a prompt engineer, what next possible question be asked. Of course, the team had also an opportunity to prompt Rovo with their own remit, but they got suggestions what they could do next. Just to put this in light, the process before has proved to be very tedious, lots of discussions, lots of debates, back and forth. And the statements of the portfolio epic owner was, rather than a 1-hour meeting with a lot of frustration, actually within 15 minutes, we had a good and well-written portfolio epic articulated. And the first result was as good as 70–75%. So fantastic insights. The next use case we decided to focus upon was actually feature backlog. So this is from a prestigious program we are currently running. We are developing a customer app, which we have deployed in 3 markets already. So it's one of our signature programs. And again, there we are struggling with not very well-written features. So I'm playing the video in the background, and then I will explain how exactly we put Rovo into life here. So as you can see, we already had features written, but they're not very well defined. So the first prompt was to, can you please enhance the feature description? Which Rovo did immediately and also structured it very nicely. And then we actually asked, can you translate and break down this feature into user stories? And again, this was returned within a few seconds. And we then also asked, can you add acceptance criteria? Because this is, again, something the teams are really struggling with. The team also reported back that they used it to size user stories. There I have to put out a word of caution. It's really important to have a lot of data, because the more data you have, the better the insights are Rovo can actually generate. To sum up...
And Silke, to add, I think they asked then also Rovo, so why did you say this is a 5 and why this is an 8? Yeah. And you get an explanation of the system, right? It breaks it down. Of course, the breakdown wasn't not that helpful because, as you said, the enough of data were not in the system. But still, this is like, okay, why is this an 8? Why is it a 13? So you can really scrutinize everything. Yeah. So nice to play around already with that.
Very good point. And this gave the team actually a lot of confidence. Yeah. So they were a bit doubtful. So where does Rovo even know? Because the results looked so great, and they were super impressed by seeing these are the data sources. This is the rationale which was being used. So if I sum up those outcomes from a very short proof of concept through the eyes of the 3 personas we focused upon, Epic owner, as already said, very impressed by getting a lot of help to come up with a first initial definition of a portfolio epic, which could be enhanced. So it's a lot of time saved by going back and forth and trying trying to align on a good and well-written description. From a product owner perspective, really adding the acceptance criteria, being more specific what a feature entails, breaking it down to user stories. That saves a lot of time, 65% faster than having to do it all manually. And then when you look at this very onerous tasks, Scrum Masters and release train engineers have to do before going to PI planning, getting the backlog ready. This was something the team also saw was providing a lot of value, checking the health status of the backlog, making suggestions how to improve it, which means you can start your sprint much earlier. So just summarizing the key takeaways we have found, and the team just reinforced us early on before getting on stage. Please share how happy we were. We really saw the benefit of getting faster feedback loops, faster iterations, getting to a final description much quicker. And then a lot of teams, and you will come to this in a second, are actually worried that AI is taking away roles. I absolutely see the value of AI augmenting human capabilities. So it was like your virtual assistant who's sitting next to you, and it's really giving you already 75%, 80% of a baseline upon which the human being can add the specific flavor of the context in which we operate. So we've definitely seen that, and that, of course, gives the team time to spend on innovation, to spend on human interactions, and to increase also the happiness and the engagement, and absolutely to help stay in the flow and not having to pick up one task from the other. So I hope you have got an insight in how that experiment has worked for us, and very happy to answer more questions later if you want on this.
So obviously our task is now to get back to the people and tell them this is a proof of concept, this is a prototype, this is how we're going to bring that to them, right? With all the kind of excitement. And it was really excitement we didn't expect it. But let me talk a little bit about the excitement, about the people. We closed this slide with driving value with happy people. And I saw a few weeks ago a study by Gartner that says all what we're doing currently globally with AI or GenAI is basically to more than 90% pre-production. Pre-production means the actual people, the users, they don't use this stuff, right? It's pre-production, so it's not used so far. So, and that's again a call for, okay, what's the human fact we are introducing, or what's the human factors we introduce when we have these methods, this tool on the ground? And there are a few interesting studies, and I want to share a little bit the outputs. Because especially between the designers, here in this case CXOs, it's a study with 2,500 CXOs, and it's a comparable study with 5,000 employees that have been asked about different facts about working, what they think about AI. And it's cited on the bottom, so you can look that up. And I just picked some of the statements out of the study. And the crucial thing here is the misalignment perceptions between the leadership and between the people on the ground, right? So you see the first one, it's about GenAI is increasing my job insecurity. So the topic about displacement, 60% care about that. 60% of workers on the ground care about that. CXOs say 29%, well, job displacement is a concern for my people. So you see a gap. Also, in the other two questions I brought here, it's about feeling confident and feeling, I think I can do. And leadership says, well, I think there is a lack of skills and a lack of probably also the workforce to engage with that. So we have a lot of factors that says, okay, there's a misalignment, there's a misconception, and that all calls for proper change management. So really taking the people on the journey with you, don't lose them. And not losing them, and that's what I said, I bring you these numbers back, not losing them means you can realize this beautiful number out of the study. Again, it's a GDP forecast, and it assumes some benefits of AI. But the interesting thing is, when you look at the three lines here on the top, of course, the green one with the highest realized the unlocked value, everyone wants to have that. And it's a beautiful number of, let's say, I don't know if it's wrong or right, but about 18 trillion US dollar. You see the green line has, at the start of it, on the right-hand side of the slide, it has a dip, because the green line is what I would call the people-centric scenario. So it means we have a dip in productivity or realizing the efficiencies because we take care for the people. So we invest in the beginning in, well, not only training and coaching probably, but also in a good change management and telling them what will happen, how it will happen, and apply all the rules of good change management, which is basically do it often and do it more often. So it's a dip at the beginning, but you start all over. Compared to, and let's just use the aggressive scenario, where I see some of the companies already go for, well, there's a lot of benefits, roll this out, let's make it happen. You start over very quickly, realize the benefits, but then, I mean, the people factor hits you, and then you actually, and that's the prediction, and much more lower, I would say. Don't know if the numbers are correct, obviously, but just compare the numbers, it's more than double the size of the realized benefits. So, and your question is, which line do you want to roll out? Where do you want to be part of, right? And we think that's a clear call for a more people-centric approach. What does that mean to have a people-centric approach? And let me cite here a beautiful statement from Professor Dr. Ulrich Lenz. He said, AI is a social interaction partner. So why you may feel is that, okay, that's a little bit an artificial statement, but what he means is, think about AI being the invisible person in the room. The person is always there. You can ask this person. You can speak to AI. That's prompting, right? And now think about the people who are dealing with the situations. Think about leaders, 30 years in their profession, saying, I know it all. I'm the one who has control over that. And all of a sudden, there's a wise guy, an invisible wise guy. It's called AI, my AI agent, who knows it actually a little bit better. Maybe, right? So it's a know-it-all person. So how do I deal with that as a leader? How do I deal if my team confronts me with the opinion of the AI based on lots of material? What do I do? How do I react? Does this actually challenge my position? But let's go for the team members. How do they interact? Well, first of all, we need to learn the language of the JI, of the robots, of the agents. We need to learn how to prompt. But more of it, you know, about the biases that still is, even if the AI engines get better, the biases that are in the results. So even if I have all of a sudden, as a team member, a super productive, innovative, invisible AI person, I need to control this person. I need to be clear, is that correct? Can I rely on that? Yeah, which data has the AI used to come to that conclusion? So, and that's what Professor Ulrich Lenz meant and said, okay, we need to learn to interact with this invisible person in the room. Because basically, when we look into the future, it's going to be always there, regardless what we do. And I guess many of you have already experienced that. You can use ChatGPT or whatever your tool you have basically everywhere.
If I may add, Alex, I don't know if anyone noticed, but the team, the 10 participants of the proof of concepts, they always use please. Yeah, so I do think they accepted AI to be their social interaction partner, which demonstrates itself by being super polite. Yeah, I find this quite funny that every prompt they made started with a please. Yeah, so I wonder how long this will stay to be the case.
but it's nice. Yeah. I mean, maybe if the AI says then thank you, then it's going to be a polite interaction. So what we think, and just to touch very briefly because of time reasons, I think we have to take care to address this nature of people, what they need, and to provide them the right services. And just to give a rough idea, we think in 4 layers of these services. The first of them, we call it just toolset and automation consulting, is we think some of the experts should really join a team, a department, whatever, engage with them, do workshops, and says, how can we help you? How can we understand your processes you're currently working with? How can we consult you, advise you in terms of how AI or GenAI can help you? And how can we build the next level of your processes by kind of working with you together? So the outcome, and we see it already, and that's my next example, I think it's AI-infused coaching and training. So everything we do can also be done by a tool, adding a ChatGPT prompt, but basically we need to think about the whole processes. And as an example, I brought to you our current prompt engineering training for Scrum Masters. So basically each of the roles can be enhanced with using AI, using the right tooling. Right? And it needs to be built in the training material, in the onboarding, and so on. Then, of course, what we think about is a lot of companies have innovation labs or units where they provide design thinking coaches, something like this. I think also to play around and to make innovation and doing something like design sprints, we can use this concept as well to help people to make a breakthrough, right, with the things they do. And finally, let's not forget, everything what we tell here needs to be baked in the future, let's say, progression, the development that people have. Where does my job lead to? Am I needed in the future? How do I qualify to still remain relevant? So let's look into the future for us. What we did with the case study, as Silke said, we had the pleasure to check some of the tools which are almost out there, soon out there, but still kind of in the verge of being available. The interesting thing, there's an agenda behind, and there's still more to come, right? So, and I listed a little bit of that stuff. So we're looking also forward, maybe in the next stages of the proof of concept, to check about the predictive analytics capabilities. So everything like if you're going to be a Scrum Master and saying, okay, that's how my team performed over the last sprints, that's the velocity, and someone in the background tells you, what's the likeliness that you receive the release point with the team? Yeah, what's the typical growth in terms of features, of bugs, and so on, and your of course, how to get rid of it. Then Silke mentioned it, it's called Atlassian Rovo, what we tested, but there's some stuff we couldn't even test, and it's the idea of agents. So while we used in the point of proof of concepts here, mainly the prompting, agent is something that's kind of really there as a person. So it speaks up when it found something in the background. So consider a Scrum Master in the morning logging in on his laptop, and then kind of whatever way the agent raises that hand and said, good morning, Alex. You know, today's sprint planning day. I already prepared the first agenda for you. Let's have a look at it, at agenda, if it consists everything. And by the way, I found a few points in the data. You should really have a look at it, and you should really point it out in the planning. So that's the thing of having a contact, having even a more discussion with the agents. Finally, AI is able to manage contents. Also, this is a stuff which is very nice. So think about brainstorming, think about an electronic board, think about you write something on Post-its, and then you just tell the AI, can you cluster that for me? Right? Can you arrange the content in a certain way? So also this features is upcoming, so we're about to test that. Is it just a playful stuff, or is it really helping the people? Finally, coming to an end in my last 2 minutes, what's the outlook? What's the outlook? Where are we heading? And I guess some of you know this study from Carlota Paris, who made her PhD thesis about the 5 biggest revolutions, technology revolutions. And we took, let's say, we took the freedom to add a 6th one. So while we think we are at the moment still in the age of software and digital, we think in a new normal where we have already achieved it, and where we think digital and agile and what the software is bringing. If you are not there, you're already behind, right? When you look at, we added the age of artificial intelligence. We don't think we are there in a new normal. We think we're still in a way of being in an emergent space where people invest and where we need to learn what the real value is. But also here, prompting a little bit with ChatGPT and some stuff, we are not that far away from a turning point where if you haven't invested in, you're probably lacking and you're probably behind. And the future, in our words, is as AI as a co-worker, as I said, according a little bit to Professor Lenz. So we think that's probably the new normal we have to look out for. And with that,
we've got a question.
Thank you so much, Silke, Alexander. There has been a question about some details with Jira, so things about different ways you have to rewrite user stories when you change something on epic levels, but we're running out of time. So I invite everyone, you will be around here for some minutes, so maybe you can get in touch with Alex and with Silke and ask your questions, because that's why we are here. Thank you very much. Next on stage at 11:30 it will be a fireside chat, Fighting Digital Threats in the Age of AI by Helmut Reisinger, Chris Wisselfeld and Johannes Steger. So come back in some minutes.